municipal buildings to assist with energy conversion efforts requested by the Energy Study Committee. 8, borrow the sum of $65,000 to undertake Phase 3 ledge removal and site work at Riverside Cemetery requested by the Department of Public Works. 9, borrow the sum of $150,000 to make necessary roof repairs to the high school and middle schools requested by the school committee. 10, transfer from free cash the sum of $36,000 to purchase an equipment pickup truck requested by the school committee. Transfer from free cash the sum of $41,500 to improve school security by an upgrade to exterior lighting and installation of audible door alarms on exterior doors as requested by the school committee. 12, transfer from free cash the sum of $7,500 to retrofit windows at the high school as requested by the school committee. 13, transfer from free cash the sum of $15,000 to provide air conditioning to the Network Operations Center and Computer Lab at the high school as requested by the school committee. 14, transfer from free cash the sum of $40,000 to acquire additional user Munis software licenses and training requested by the Finance Department. 15, borrow the sum of $64,000 for emergency power and security improvements at various water facilities requested by the Water Department. 16, borrow the sum of $150,000 for improvements to town roads requested by the Board of Selectmen, and to authorize the treasurer with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to issue bonds or notes, therefore, for the purposes above for which borrowing is authorized.
We have a motion that the Board of Selectmen wish to make a recommendation. Mr. Messeri.
The Board of Selectmen unanimously recommend.
We'll wait a second for the Finance Committee. Are you ready for a recommendation, or you want a minute? You ready? He's done presenting. You want him to dance or something?
The Finance Committee unanimously recommends.
The yellow piece of paper that was available on your way in contains all of the information. Hopefully you all have one of those. Mr. Messeri.
Mr. Moderator, for the benefit of the town meeting, I have 2 slides. The first slide that you see is the detail of what I read for general government, and this slide, misspelled school, is for the school department. I guess I'll have to go back to school. Anyway, they're here to answer any questions that you have.
Mrs. Wagner. For the school committee?
Yes, the school committee recommends.
Mr. McGrath.
Ed McGrath, 8 Laurel Road. Mr. Moderator, can we get an explanation on, it used to be we used to vote on these by line item years ago. Can we get an explanation from the various department heads of what these expenditures are for? There's a sum of money up there. We seem to be voting it all in one fell swoop. For instance, police, we've got the chief talk for the police items, the fire department, and fire, DPW, etc. Thank you.
Are you asking to divide the motion, or are you asking for a response on each item in the motion from the department head?
I didn't know I could ask to divide the motion.
I'd prefer you did.
Maybe if we hear the explanations first, we can cross that bridge, decide whether we want to cross that bridge.
Okay.
If we get a department heads to talk to each item, please.
Mr. Valiakonis.
I'll ask the department head to assist if there's any further questions that come up. But let me just give you a little bit of an explanation of the background. The town has typically done its annual capital improvement plan at October town meeting. We start off in August, and we review all of our capital requests. This year we had requests totaling $5.4 million, and the total request being requested for you this evening is just a little bit under $1.1 million. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of the size of the magnitude of the request and what departments feel is particularly urgent. But let me do my best to give you a bit of a description on each of the line items and see if it doesn't make everyone happy. The police department is requesting 2 marked cruisers. They replace 2 cruisers that are on the road that have high mileage, high idling time. They've reached nearly the end of their useful life. Typically, these are requested at the annual town meeting. However, because of the fiscal situation, they were deferred until the October town meeting. The costs involved include the cost of 2 vehicles, all of the related safety and operational equipment, paint, markings, bumpers and sirens, all communication consoles, emergency lights, etc. It's expected that the vehicles will have substantial useful life and they'll be covered under warranty throughout. The options that we considered was a lease purchase versus a purchase. But typically a marked cruiser isn't on the road for that extended period of time, and it was judged that the best and most cost-effective way to approach this was as a purchase item. So these are frontline marked cruisers that we put in service as soon as the department proceeds. A little bit of information, the current vehicles. One vehicle has 65,000 miles or 7,048 idling hours, and the other has 72,000 miles and 6,600 idling hours. I don't profess that I'm an expert in idling hours, but those numbers come off my mind. Second item was requested for police communications equipment. The department head, in this case the police chief, has determined that as part of the town's transition to the 700 megahertz radio band frequency, we need to begin a replacement of all of the radio systems that are associated in our cruisers and also available in the department. This would allow us to purchase 7 units. And again, it's necessary due to a federal government mandate through the Federal Communications Equipment and Department of Homeland Security that we have all of our radios 700 megahertz compliance with Public Safety Department. Next request is $40,000 for the fire department administrative vehicle. This is a 2001 vehicle. I think it's a Tahoe, Chief? Help me. 125,000 miles on it. It's been in the town's capital plan for, I've been here for 4 years, and I think I've seen it every year that it's been here. We haven't had the ability to fund it, but it is a vehicle that's used for emergency purposes. It's used by the chief in the conduct of his business, and it also provides substitute transportation within the department. The vehicle is really at the point right now where it's used for transportation of people and equipment. It's also used for heavy towing capacity. So the intent is to have something that will be used for towing and transportation uses and is utilized in all types of weather. Next issue. Pickup truck for the Department of Public Works. This was another item that was deferred from last October's town meeting. You recall we showed some slides last year with 2 vehicles. One of them had weeds growing up through it. They did replace that. The second vehicle we indicated would need to be replaced this year. That's what we're coming in for. This will be a 4x4 pickup truck with plow. It replaces a truck that's currently 14 years old. It's had extensive body frame and power work. The vehicle has currently 122,000 miles, and the estimated cost of repairs to this vehicle is $22,991. Presently, the vehicle will not pass inspection. inspection. So the intent is that the board replace this in time for the winter season. Next request is for the third meeting house. The request is for $280,000. Those in the community will recall that a few years back there was an amount voted to undertake an architectural study of the building. The study was done. It was done in April of 2009. It identified all of the necessary improvements to that building at a cost of about $4 million. What we're planning on doing through this is to take an incremental approach to address the areas of the building that are most immediately in need of replacement. That's what this addresses, is the exterior, to make the exterior weather-tight. The windows are at a point where they're critical, very close to falling out, and so we want to replace those windows. We also want to take care of the trim. Those of you who've been by the building know that the exterior is in very poor shape, and the intent of this is to also take care of the clock tower for cupola. As part of the structural evaluation that was done on it, there were some deficiencies that were noted. This is a proactive approach to stabilizing that structure. I would expect that in future fiscal years we'll come forward with additional plans, similar to the way that we've approached Town Hall, which is to do a little bit of work over a period of time. Now, $280,000 is by no means a little bit of work, but it's work that's been deferred for a period of years. And it's something that's really necessary to begin the town's commitment to improving that building as it was with all of our particular buildings. And again, it's based upon the architectural study that we had done on the building. The request for $30,000 from DPW, we have an inspection that was performed by the Massachusetts Division of Occupational Safety back in February. That visit resulted in some things that the town needed to do, which was, number one, to improve the exhaust system that's in the mechanics bays, also to install some hardwired carbon monoxide detection systems, and to make some changes to the window structure in that building so that they're not fixed, so that they can be opened and allow greater ventilation. We think it's money well spent. It's for the safety of the town's employees, and I think it's an essential item and something that we need to really look at. Next request. $65,000 for the cemetery expansion project. Typically what the town's done, for those who have been at town meeting before, we break each portion of the development down into the cemetery to 3 separate phases. The first phase is to go in and do the clearing and the grubbing of the sites and the rough grading. And that's already been done on one particular portion of the cemetery. It comprises about 1.5 acres. So that portion was authorized by the voting town meeting last year. The next step is to do what's considered to be ledge removal and site work. That's the amount that's requested for this year. And then the last portion will be to come to town meeting a year from now and request money for the loaming, seeding, and site development. The goal for the town is to continue to stay on top of its cemetery needs. We want to stay about 15 to 20 years ahead of the need. We have a legal and a moral obligation to provide for our citizens in all respects, and this fulfills that need. So there are about 13 acres in the cemetery that does need to be developed, and we'll periodically come before you to continue this phased development process. Next request is for the Munis software licensing and training. The amount requested is $40,000. And of this amount of money, this is the amount that is necessary for us to purchase a sufficient number of licenses to operate the town's financial systems. You recall that the town